Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the latest AF Digital Masterclass. So let's get started. Like I said, this is our latest AF Digital Masterclass, and we call it the Perdot Essentials. This first session is all about getting started with Perdot. But before anything else, let me introduce myself. My name is Karen. I'm the content manager at AF Digital. I'm in charge of doing or heading the marketing team. So we do internal marketing for AF Digital and some of our clients as well. Also conducting this webinar with me today, I have Kate. She's our business analyst. And in the next 2 weeks, we will be joined by Kevin and Zeke. Kevin is a Salesforce developer at AF Digital, and Zeke is our business analyst. Actually, Kevin is here also on the call, and he'll help us in answering some of your questions at the end of the session. So the Perdot Essentials will cover in session one, getting started with Perdot. So everything that you need to know, the dashboard, what its features are. So this first session is a little bit chill. We'll just talk about some of the features, how to navigate Perdot. And in the next two sessions, that's when or where we'll really deep dive into the app. So the next session will be next week, June 3, and we'll deep dive into Pardot features. And then the last session will go into Pardot reports, which is very, very important. And that will be on June 10, also at 2 p.m. AEST or Australian Standard Time. All right, so let's get started. Our agenda for this very first session will be an introduction of Pardot. We'll get into admin basics, and then we'll also discuss lead generation, and then Pardot scoring and grading. Okay, so what is Pardot? For this very first section of this training, we will be discussing what it is, what the merits of using the software or tool is, and then we'll differentiate a little bit on Pardot and Marketing Cloud, and then we'll identify the parts of the Pardot dashboard. So Pardot as a business solution. In a nutshell, Pardot is Salesforce's B2B marketing automation solution. It will help you or your clients move leads to prospects and through the sales funnel by automating marketing activities. Provide a central location to manage marketing initiative and reports, and track prospects as they interact with your marketing channels. So some of those who've used Pardot as a business solution have reported 34% increase in sales revenue and 37% increase in their marketing effectiveness. So how does Pardot do this? They do this by generating more leads and moves them quickly through the pipeline. They engage buyers on their terms with dynamic, personalized campaigns, understand each step from click to close, capturing true marketing ROI, remove silos across organizations that lead to disjointed customer experiences, and make data-driven decisions. Now, some of you, if you implement Salesforce or if you have a Salesforce instance and you've looked into some marketing solutions, I'm pretty sure you've heard not just of Pardot, but Marketing Cloud as well. And if you look at what the definition of Pardot is, it's a little bit similar. So which one is the right solution for your business or for your clients if you're a Salesforce implementer? Let's look at the difference between the two automation software. Pardot, like I mentioned earlier, is a B2B marketing automation. So it's perfect for companies or businesses that do B2B interactions, while Marketing Cloud is best for B2C marketing. Now, if you've been a user or if you've shopped around for your automation software, you'll know that sometimes this does not happen. Sometimes you're a B2B that uses Marketing Cloud or vice versa. So let's deep a little deeper into which one is the perfect solution for you. Basically, you need Pardot if your main channels are email and social. And if you have more channels, if you add in SMS and display advertising, then Marketing Cloud is perfect for you because Marketing Cloud is ideal for one-on-one customer experience across multiple channels, which ensures that you do not replicate your marketing efforts on the same person on different channels, while Pardot is ideal for just lead management and long-term lead nurturing. So if you have a smaller database and you have higher value sales, it's best for you to use Pardot. But if you have a very large database and you have a smaller value sales, then that's when Marketing Cloud is perfect for you. Now let's look at how you can navigate Pardot. So Pardot has 8 main menus. Those are prospects, campaigns, automations, Pardot email, content, Pardot reports, and Pardot settings. But just like any other app on the Lightning console, these main menus could be customized by you. Now let's look at the Pardot dashboard. Once you log into Pardot, you are going to see this screen. Okay, so the very first thing after the menu that you'll see will be this one over here, which will be your prospects created, conversions, opportunities created, and all prospects. So this is your prospects in a nutshell. Once you scroll down on the dashboard, you are going to see the marketing calendar. And in the marketing calendar, you will see all of the emails and social posts that are scheduled. And this could be seen by your team so that everybody could be aligned and make adjustments in case new campaigns need to be added to your activities. Now, below the marketing calendar over here will be your active prospects for review, which will show you the 5 latest or most recent prospects who performed an activity on your marketing activities, like submitting a form, visiting a page, or clicking a link. Now, if you want or need to see more active prospects, below that box will be the More Prospects link. Same with the item on the right, Identified Companies. This will display up to 5 of the most recent visitors whose companies could be identified. If you need more or you need to see more, same thing, you just need to click on More Visitors. Okay, the Pardot app has 4 modules, meaning there are 4 major things that you can see and do on Pardot. And these are your marketing activities, admin, prospect, and report. I won't go into details on the modules first and also the main menus because these are things that will be discussed further in the next sessions. Okay, so let's wrap up this section and really get into the features of Pardot. So you were able to define what Pardot is and enumerate the merits of using it. We also discussed a little bit between Pardot and Marketing Cloud and identify the parts of the Pardot dashboard. Before I move to the next section and turn you over to my partner, Kate, let me just invite everybody, if you do have questions, either in this particular session, or if you have questions or suggested topics that you want for the next Pardot discussions, feel free to type it in the questions box. Now, let me turn you over to Kate and I'll transfer the screen to her now.
Thank you, Karen. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kate, and I'm going to be discussing about the admin section of this session. So let me just share my screen to you. There you go. So let's start with the admin. So for the admin basics, we're learning all of the account settings, how to set up users, and identify what are the Pardot user roles, and then set up custom prospect fields and identify what are the third-party connectors for the Pardot account. Now begin with defining what is an account settings. Account settings contains helpful information for administering your Pardot account. It contains 3 tabs, which are the account tab, the usage and limits, and the My Profile. So first, let's discuss about the you see tab. So account tab simply contains your account information and account information like your company name, your Pardot account ID, your account type, and you can also see here the time zone. Next is the limit. And just like any other system or application, Pardot also has its own limits, which may vary depending on your Pardot edition. And it's important that we keep an eye on these limits and the features limits, like how many landing pages can you actually build on your Pardot account, so that we can avoid overusing all these things. And you'll be able to check those things in the usage and limit section of your account settings. You'll find out here all the listed features of your account, and then beside it, the usage, the current usage of your account, and then the overall limit for each features. Now, you may be wondering, what if you're kind of getting over your limits? You may need to purchase more, or actually we recommend that you do a cleanup or maybe like put some rules in place to maintain a clean and efficient data. So the last tab would be My Profile. The Account tab contains your account information. The My Profile tab contains your user information, like your email, your role, and your first name and your last name. Adding users. Now, when it comes to adding users, only those with a Pardot administrator role can do it, or has the ability to do it. First name, last name, email address, time zone, and role are all the 5 required fields that you have to fill out so that you can successfully create your user. And you must remember that email address must be unique across all Pardot accounts when you're creating a user. So how do you go? How do you create a user? You just add, and then user management, and then users. Next, user roles. And since this is one of the required information that you have to fill out when creating a user, Pardot actually has a 4 default user roles, which are administrator role, marketing, sales manager, and sales role. And each of these user roles allow you to control account access for each users. First, let's talk about the administrator role, which is it is for power users, because basically it has it can control broad account settings, while for the marketing role, it works primarily in your marketing and prospect modules. And with this access, you can manage prospects and create marketing related materials, such as like the landing pages and the email and forms and form handlers. Next is the sales manager role. And with this role, you'll be able to view all prospects and visitors. However, you have no marketing functionality when a sales manager role is assigned to you. For sales role, it has the simplest interface, view, and Pardot. And only prospects that are assigned to you can be editable and viewable. You might be wondering if you can edit the default Pardot user roles, and the answer would be no. Instead, Pardot allows you to create custom user roles that you can tailor based on your preference. We recommend that you either duplicate the existing default roles or create from the scratch depending on your requirement or preference. Next, adding custom prospect fields. Whilst there are already default prospect fields in your Pardot account, such as the first name or last name, Pardot allows you to create additional custom fields to capture prospect data that you need. Custom fields can be used in forms, just like the default fields of Pardot. And if you have any CRM, connected to your Pardot account, these custom fields can also be synced to them. Next is the connectors. You can sync third-party connectors to your Pardot account. We know that running campaign in Pardot can be great on its own, but there are still some instances that third-party connectors are needed, depending on your marketing strategy. Perhaps you run a webinar as part of your content strategy. So you might click campaign on Google, or maybe you often run or organize events and use Eventbrite to manage event ticket sales, or you use bit.ly to shorten branded links. All of these tools are outside of Pardot platform, but that doesn't mean you can integrate them with your Pardot account so that you have the visibility in a single place or platform. By setting up these Pardot connectors, you can draw information about your prospects' gathered activities on these third-party tools, like, for example, ticket registration details, webinar attendance, the link performances, into the profile of that person in your Pardot account. And there are a bunch of reasons to use Pardot connectors, not just the obvious part that it saves you time from switching between two or more platforms, but it also makes sure your prospect profiles are complete and up to date, which additionally, it gives you a better tracking of your return on investment or ROI. That we have to discuss is the recycle bin. Pardot's recycle bin actually functions the same way as the recycle bin of your computer. When you delete an asset, it's automatically moved to your recycle bin in your Pardot account instead of being permanently deleted. Though, of course, there are some exceptions to that, like content files and tags. But what's highly different about Pardot's recycle bin is the fact that you can't empty it. Of course, there is also an exception if in your Pardot prospects, which can be hard deleted from your recycle bin as part of your GDPR right to be forgotten. It may seem or unhygienic that you cannot empty the Pardot recycle bin, but it can actually work to your advantage, as of course mistakes can easily be rectified. Plus, the main thing that you have to consider is that items you put into the recycle bin do not actually count towards your usage limits, meaning that once you put something in a bin, it frees up some space for more of the things that you need to be using in Pardot. So let's wrap up this section. And for this section, we were able to learn how to access and describe Pardot account settings, how to set up users. We also identified what are the Pardot default user roles, and we were able to set up custom prospect fields and identify what are the third-party connectors available for Pardot. So now let's head on to the next section, which is the lead generation. In this section, we're going to learn how to use Pardot to generate leads. Here are our learning objectives. First, we'll be able to describe how visitor activities are tracked in Pardot, describe how prospects are created, summarize what are forms and how they're used in Pardot, and be able to describe what a Pardot landing page is and when to use one. So first, what is a visitor? Visitors are simply the anonymous people who visit your website. They're unknown. And let's use AF Digital's website with a Pardot tracking on it as an example for this, so that you can fully grasp the idea of a visitor in a Pardot sense. For instance, the anonymous visitor is looking for a Salesforce partner. So he searched through Google and typed in Salesforce Gold Partner. Right now, this person is not yet our website visitor, and we don't know anything about him. Unless, of course, he landed on our website. So while this person is checking all the Google results, he happened to be particularly interested on the blog post that we created, and it's entitled AF Digital Now a Salesforce Gold Consulting Partner. And then this visitor clicked on the link and directed through the website, our website. And now he's officially our website visitor. And while this anonymous visitor is like interacting with our site, taking various actions like clicking the about section of our website, or like jumping through the transformation strategy section of our services. Right now, there is no way for us to directly market to him or begin moving him through the typical Pardot lead generation funnel, unless he converts to a prospect. The good news is that just like the good news is like the famous fairy tale Hansel and Gretel. When visitors browse a website that has a Pardot tracking code on it, they leave behind traceable crumbs that can be used later. By adding a tracking cookie to their browser, Pardot can actually track your visitors' interactions and activities even while they're pre-conversion, meaning they're not yet a prospect. In Pardots, the cookie is used to track the visitors' activities while they navigate or explore your website and interact with your marketing materials. And in result, this gives you a full view of their browsing behavior. And these cookies will stay on the browser unless they choose to opt out. And once the visitors converts to prospects, these cookies provides you with a wealth of information about each prospect's interests or behaviors and activities. And Pardot record and continues monitoring their activities moving forward. Let's define what is a prospect. A prospect is Pardot's name for a site visitor who has given you their email address. And the email address is a piece of information that's required for a prospect to be created. So on the previous slide, we don't know anything about that anonymous visitor that's been going through our website. But since that person gave out his or her email address, now we've identified her as Sasha. And now she became our prospect. And now that the concept between prospects and visitors, you might be wondering, so how are prospects created in Pardot? How are we going to funnel those prospects into our Pardot application? So there are 4 different ways that it can happen. So the first one is through a form you embed on your webpage. Second is a form on your site that you connect to a Pardot form handler. Third is a form you host on a Pardot landing page. And then the fourth one would be manually adding your prospect in your Pardot account. So let's discuss first the Pardot forms and form handlers. So for the Pardot forms, you design and manage them through Form Wizard. And you use Form Handler to funnel data from external forms. You begin collecting visitors' first name and email address, or last name and location. You can choose whether to use a short or long form, depending on your preference. So you might be wondering, you might ask, when do I use form and when do I use form handler? And we suggest that you ask yourself this question: am I already collecting information on prospects elsewhere that I need to bring into Pardot? And if the answer would be a resounding yes, then a form handler would be a better idea and better suggestion than using a form. So here are the list of technical features that you might also consider in choosing between forms and form handlers. If you wanted to have a form that provides progressive profiling, so progressive profiling in Pardot forms allows you to logically break down your long form into a single short form. And when you use this feature, it allows you to show a certain fields only when a fields are already filled or filled out, thereby reducing the form's length and keeping it short. So if you want that feature, then a Pardot form is best suited for you. Whilst if you want to maintain your current lead form, if you want to do an integration with any third-party forms, then a form handler would be a better option. Let's talk about the Pardot landing pages. And what is a landing page? Landing page is a specific web page that a visitor typically reaches after clicking a link or advertisement. And the content typically displays something that is specific to the advertisement, search keyword, or a link clicked. I have here some examples of landing pages. Good example of a landing page specific for a product demo. So here there is a brief introduction and description about the product demo, what is it all about, and then on the right side corner, of course, there would be a form. Another example, it could all be an ebook where you can download this. Once you download, you have to fill out this form in order to download this ebook. It could also be an event registration. You can also use a page to create an event registration. If you create a landing page for event registration, there would be a brief description about the event, the date, when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, and then of course on the right side corner there would be the form. And now, how do you build a landing page in Pardot? There are two options in creating or building a landing page in Pardot. So the first one, if you have a pre-existing HTML style, then you might use the custom, or you can use the stack template if you'd like to use one of the Pardot stack templates to create a new landing page. This the stack template would be something that you would create from scratch, whereas if you have any existing, then you would opt for a custom. So now for this section, we're done, and we're able to describe how visitor activities are tracked in Pardot. We also learned how prospects are created in Pardot and summarize what are forms and landing pages and when to use these options and which one would be the best for some marketing content scenarios. So next is we'll discuss, Karen would be discussing about the Pardot scoring and grading. So I'm going to turn it over to Karen. So she would.
All right, thanks, Kate. But before I go to per dot scoring, Sant is asking if we will be uploading this session on our YouTube channel. Yes, we will. So if you want to watch this in your own leisure or rewatch it on your own leisure, or if you want to share this with your colleagues, just follow us on YouTube. Our YouTube channel name is AF Digital. All right, so let's get back to the per dot training. So like Kate said, this section will be all about per dot scoring and grading. And after completing this particular section, we will be able to define what lead qualification means, differentiate between score and grade, and identify which prospects will be moved down the sales funnel. So the very good thing about per dot, if you're not yet a user of it, is that they have what you call your lead qualification, which creates a full picture of a prospect's interest and suitability. And it lets you see in a nutshell which ones are really fit and who are really interested in your product. So what is a score and what is a grade? Basically, a score is a numerical value, while a grade is then represented by a letter. So the score will measure their implicit interest in your product, while a grade will measure the explicit information provided by the prospect to check how closely he or she fits the profile of your ideal prospect. The important thing to note in grade is that it's represented by a letter and it's an explicit information, meaning these are pieces of information that they willingly provided you and your business, while a score is represented by a number and will measure their interest. It will assign points or score value to activities that they interact with. Now, because these two are very important and these are the things that really matter when it comes to using per dot, let's deep dive into the importance of each one. So in Pardot, each of your marketing activity will have their default scoring, which means that as you log into Pardot, any marketing activity, any email activity, they will have their own numerical value. And each of these activity will have positive, these are the ones on top, and negative, those are the ones at the bottom, impact on your marketing objectives. Just take note, these are not all the activities that are available in Pardot. These are just some of the examples, just to give you a picture of what the scoring means. Okay, and each of this positive and negative impact will either have low negative impact form error, which if a client or if a visitor gets a form error, it will give them -3 score in Pardot. And there are those that have really high negative scoring, like opportunity lost. So if an opportunity is lost with a particular prospect, this is an automatic -50 deduction in Pardot. And same with the positive impact. Some of these will have low positive impact, like a file access and a custom redirect are just +3 points, while activities such as opportunity one and form submission or opportunity one automatically gives the prospect +50 points. And there are also some activities that are just, just them interacting with your brand, but has no clear indication that they will convert into a buyer or a client, like webinar attended, email open, event registered. These are all default 0 points or 0 score in Pardot. But let's say your company, and I'm going to give AF Digital as an example. If you've been following us closely in the past 2 months, we've had a lot of industry webinars and master classes such as these. And we think webinars attended have really great impact into showing whether a prospect is going to buy or not. And so we feel like the 0 points is not the 0 point default score in Pardot is not reflective of its impact on our business. The good thing is that in Pardot, you can also customize these default scoring. all you need to do is when you're on the Pardot dashboard, click on Pardot settings, and then click on automation settings, and then you will see there the option scoring, and then click edit scoring rules to change any of the points. Now in Pardot, there are 4 different ways to modify the score. First is via automation rules, which means that once a prospect interacts with a particular marketing activity, it will automatically change their score. In automation rules, all you need to do is, again, go to automations, automation rules, and then click on add automation rules. Then via completion or page actions, earlier Kate discussed about the form and form handlers. In those pages, you can designate adjust score and completion action on step 4 of the form wizard. And then during imports, you can add in your file, just add a column on the score that you default score that you want to assign to this particular prospect, and then during import it's going to map that out. And of course, you can also do this manually by going into an individual prospect's record and clicking on edit so that you can assign a new score to them. Now I have here also reset to 0. This is a very special automation rule. So it's still an automation rule, but what it does is that it automatically erases all of the prospect score. You can do this if, for example, a prospect hasn't interacted with any of your marketing material in, let's say, 1 year, and you'd want to reset it because you'd want them to start afresh if they do re-interact with you. So you just go to the same thing, automation rules, add automation rule, and then set the criterion that you would want for these prospects. Now for grading. What is grading? I'm going to go back to the example of AF Digital. So who are we after? So we market to the whole Salesforce ecosystem. And as an independent entity, that means we reach a variety of people. And as it says here on this slide, we can reach customers, our customers, which are the decision makers. Sometimes we'd also talk to account executives who can refer us to possible Salesforce users. And then we have employees who are interested in working for a Salesforce partner. Now, of all these people that we reach with our marketing activities, who we really want to target will be, of course, the customers, the decision makers, and sometimes maybe the account executives, because they also bring business to AF Digital. So why am I discussing this? Because in grading, each prospect that interact with your marketing activity is given a grade of A+ or F, depending on how they match the profile that we want to really target. And once a prospect is uploaded to Pardot, they get a default score of D, which means that they are just below average fit to our target audience. Now, how do I move, or how do I see which prospects are moving from D to A+? So to do this, Pardot has what we call the grade weights. And the grade weights are divided into 3, which means that to move from D to D+, they need to have a grade of 1/3. And so that means to move from one letter to another, like from D to C, they will have to have a grade of 3 steps. Okay, so 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3. So what does this mean? This means that each criteria or each attribute or each information that a prospect gives us, they will have their equivalent grade weight. Now, in Pardot, the default profile will have equal weightage for each of the criteria. So the default criteria will be company size, industry, location, job title, and department, which are all information usual information that a prospect provides you. And each of these criteria will have a grade weight of 2/3. So that means that if the company size provided by a prospect is equivalent your your target audience, then they will be given a grade weight of 2/3, and etc., etc. But let's go back to AF Digital. Like I said, our main target will have to be the decision makers. So I feel that job title should have a different grade weight than, let's say, industry or location and department, and maybe even company size, because our target profile will have to be mid-sized companies. Then I can change. The good thing is that this default profile could be changed also in Pardot and changed to 3/3, or a full grade of 1. So how do I do this? We go to prospects and then click on segmentation. And then on segmentation page, you will see profiles. And then you click on the gear icon for the default profile and click edit. There you can adjust the grade weights, either 1/3, 2/3, or full 1 in the default profile. Okay, and then you have to save profile and of course test before you automate. So what's important to know in the past few slides that I've discussed is that in Pardot, it's very important that you keep on reevaluating scores and grades, and that your marketing and sales team keep on interacting with each other to know and adjust your scores and grades accordingly. Because yes, Pardot is a perfect tool for B2B marketing, but it's also important that you know who your target audience is and which of your marketing activities really make an impact, because you will have to customize these in your Pardot tool. Now, how do we because what's good about Pardot is that, yeah, you customize everything, but you do not have to manually say, hey, sales team, this is the kind of prospect that we are targeting. We can automatically do it on Pardot as well. And this is when we have to determine thresholds. So what do thresholds mean? This means identifying the minimum point value or the minimum score and the minimum letter grade or grade to determine if a prospect is properly qualified and should be moved down the sales funnel. Thresholds vary per industry, company goals, sales needs, and other criteria that your company feels is important. But Salesforce suggests to start with a score threshold of 100 points and a grade threshold of B minus, and that you review this threshold every 30 days and adjust it until you reach the right frequency. So what does this mean? Once a prospect gets a score of 100 points and gets a grade of B minus, then they will automatically be moved down to the sales funnel or sent to your sales team. This can easily be done on Pardot by through an automation rule. So you go to your automation rules, and then set your qualified prospects, which ones are going to be sent to sales. All right. So now we know what lead qualification means, and we have identified the difference between score and grade. And we were also able to identify how these prospects who meet your score and grade can be automatically sent down or moved to the sales funnel. And that is the end of our Pardot Essentials. But we would like to open the floor for a few questions. Again, a recording of this masterclass will be available on our YouTube channel. And that's AF Digital. That's our username. So do follow us. Put the notification on, because this is not our last masterclass. We have a lot in store for you guys. Kate, do you have anything to add before while we're waiting for a few questions? Kate?
If you want to learn more about the Pardot and how it can help you as a business, then let's meet again on the next session because it's gonna be a deep dive session of Pardot, and there's gonna be a application on that, and it's gonna be more informative uh, on your business.
Yes, we do have one question here from Sylvia. And I feel like this is something that actually going to be answered in the next sessions. But Kevin, feel free if you want to discuss it now. She's asking, when a prospect is moved to sales, does it then create a lead in Salesforce CRM?
Hello. Yeah, to answer that question. Yeah, to answer that question, yes. If the prospect is moved to the sales funnel, and if it is assigned uh as a certain user in Pardot, that will automatically create a lead record in Salesforce CRM.
So I hope that answers your question, Sylvia. But of course, there are a lot of things that are dependent on the answer to this. It depends on your Salesforce integration, as Kevin also mentioned. Is that particular lead assigned a user in Pardot, things like that, and these will all be answered in detail in the next session, the deep dive into the features. But basically, the answer is yes, it will. Okay, any other questions? Let's see. Okay. We still have a bit of time. We'll still entertain questions until 1 o'clock if there are still some questions. But just a reminder, next week, like I said, we will deep dive into the Pardot features. That's still on a Wednesday, June 3, 2 p.m. Australian Standard Time. And then on the week after, we'll be discussing Pardot reports, still on Wednesday, June 10, 2 p.m. as well. While we're still waiting on a few questions, just to promote, tomorrow is the last session of our Marketing Cloud Masterclass. This was a 6-session masterclass. Tomorrow, they're going to be talking about Einstein on Marketing Cloud. And that's at 1 p.m. Australian Standard Time. And then since we're wrapping up on our Marketing Cloud, next week we're starting on a new Marketing Cloud masterclass. This time it's integration with the Sales Cloud. So it's building and branding your customer 360. We're inviting a very knowledgeable customer 360 master. It's Tom. He'll be starting on June 4, 1 p.m. Australian Standard Time. But before that, we have CX Architecture by our very own Robin Leonard starting on Tuesday, June 2, 1 p.m. Australian Standard Time. So you can register for all of these master classes on afdigital.com. And on the first fold of our landing page, you will see there the register link to all of these master classes. And we hope to see you in all of those. And we are also going to have classes on, we also have classes on Sales Cloud. I think also Community Cloud coming in June. Someone is asking if we're hiring digital marketing for those who've done webinars. We can talk offline after this webinar. Some are saying, thank you for this session. Thank you for attending and for registering. We hope to see you in the next 2 sessions. Kate or Kevin, do you have anything else to add? I think we can give them back a little bit of their time and we can wrap this up a little bit early.
Yep, I was just looking forward for the next session and Just feel free, guys, to just let us know if you have any clarification, something that came up your mind maybe after this session.
Yes. So a recording of this session will be on our YouTube channel, but we will also be sending everyone who registered a link after all 3 sessions have wrapped up. All right. So we are going to end this masterclass a little bit early. We hope to see you maybe tomorrow or next week in our CX Architecture Masterclass and the next sessions for Pardot. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you for your time, everyone. I hope it clears your concept about Pardot and how it can help your business. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Bye.